Today our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature, and we responded with the best of America, with the daring of our rescue workers, with the caring for strangers and neighbors who came to give blood and help in any way they could. Immediately following the first attack, I implemented our government's emergency response plans. Our military is powerful, and it's prepared. Our emergency teams are working in New York City and Washington, D.C. to help with local rescue efforts. Our first priority is to get help to those who have been injured and to take every precaution to protect our citizens at home and around the world from further attacks. The functions of our government continue without interruption. Federal agencies in Washington, which had to be evacuated today, are reopening for essential personnel tonight and will be open for business tomorrow. Our financial institutions remain strong, and the American economy will be open for business as well. The search is underway for those who are behind these evil acts. I've directed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to find those responsible and to bring them to justice. We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them. I appreciate so very much the members of Congress who have joined me in strongly condemning these attacks. And on behalf of the American people, I thank the many world leaders who have called to offer their condolences and assistance. America and our friends and allies join with all those who want peace and security in the world, and we stand together to win the war against terrorism. Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve, for the children whose worlds have been shattered, for all whose sense of safety and security has been threatened. And I pray they will be comforted by a power greater than any of us, spoken through the ages.
All right, we were listening there to President Bush as he spoke directly to the nation from the White House. Clearly they're trying to allay some of the fears people may have about financial markets and other things, conveying a deep sense of what had happened in the day, a deep sense that he was facing a complete change in the way the U.S. is going to have to deal with one of the major threats it faces, terrorism. For his part, U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell rushed back to Washington from South America. He told reporters U.S. officials had received no specific warnings, in his words, in advance of the attacks.
You also heard the president making the point that America will be open for business, as he said, including the Pentagon. The rescue and recovery effort, though, continuing into the night at the Pentagon, where American Airlines Flight 77 crashed. CNN's Bob Franken joins us now with more on that. Bob, how's it looking there this evening?
Well, you know, it's interesting. It's 15 hours, more than 15 hours, since the plane crashed into this side of the Pentagon. You can see in back of me there's still smoke. The fire is still burning. As a matter of fact, the various firefighters are still in what they're calling a defensive position. They haven't really attacked the interior. They're going to do that with the break of the light of day. They're going to literally peel back the walls, we're saying. They're going to peel back the walls and go in there and take a very aggressive stance and finally be able to put out a fire, I said, started about 15 hours ago. And was witnessed a gasp from some people who were driving from the highway right over there.
I looked off, looked out my window. I saw this plane, a jet, American Airlines jet coming, and I thought, this doesn't add up. It's really low. And I saw it. It just went, it was like a cruise missile with wings. Went right there and slammed right into the Pentagon. Huge explosion, a great ball of fire, and smoke started billowing out, and then it was just chaos on the highway as people either tried to move around the traffic and go down either forward or backwards. We had a lady who was in front of me who was backing up and screaming, "Everybody go back, they've hit the Pentagon."
There's still no official estimate of casualties. We're being told now by one of the local fire chiefs that there could be between 100 and 800 deaths inside. Of course, we know there were about 65 people on the plane that actually crashed into the building here. The Rumsfeld, the defense secretary, held a briefing just a few hours ago, and he was not really able to give many details on casualties.
There cannot be any survivors. It just would be beyond comprehension. There are a number of people that they've not identified by name, but identified as being dead, and there are a number of casualties. But the FBI has secured the site, and the information takes time to come. People have been lifted out and taken away in ambulances, and the numbers will be calculated, and it will not be a few.
Now, it's very, very important to the Pentagon that it reopen tomorrow. The Defense Secretary said he was determined that at least some of the services would be conducted here. There will be an opening of this building, but individuals should check with his supervisor to find out exactly whether he or she should come to work. And some of the work that will certainly be going on today will be very preliminary planning, at least, of the ultimate retaliation once they can figure out who it is they're going to retaliate against. Colleen?
Understood. Bob Franken at the Pentagon tonight. Thanks very much. Jim?
As the United States tries to come to grips with what has happened this day, the magnitude of the tragedy, thousands of people, more than 300 firefighters' families trying to deal with this problem, victims perhaps in their thousands, all trying to deal with missing people or people that are known to have died in the violence. Among those victims in the attack on the Pentagon, a person perhaps familiar to many of you CNN viewers, Barbara Olson, an attorney. She was frequently a commentator here on CNN. Her husband is U.S. Solicitor General Ted Olson. He says she called him twice on her cell phone from inside the aircraft, telling him that it had been hijacked by men with knives. Barbara Olson was not originally scheduled to take that flight, but she delayed her travel plans to have breakfast with her husband on Tuesday, his birthday.
And this is really disturbing as well. A man on board one of the doomed planes actually called his mother as the aircraft was being hijacked. Mark Bingham was a passenger on United Airlines Flight 93 that was en route from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco. Called his mother in the Bay Area minutes before the plane crashed near Pittsburgh.
That I love you very, very much in case I don't see you again.
I said that.
That the plane has been taken over by hijackers. And then I said, well, we love you very much too, Mark. Let me go get your mother.
I got on the phone, Mark, and he said, hi, Mom, this is Mark Bingham. Giving me his last name. And he said, I want to let you know that I love you. And I'm flying. I think he said I'm in the air. I'm calling you on the air phone of the airplane.
In his seat.
I presume so. He said, I want you to know I love you very much, and I'm calling you from the plane. We've been taken over. There are 3 men that say they have a bomb. And I said, well, who are they, Mark? And he repeated that he loved me, and he said, I don't think he said, I don't know who they are. He became distracted there as if someone was speaking to him, and he said it's something to the effect of, it's true, and then the phone went dead.
Authorities in New York City not giving up hope of finding more survivors. CNN producer Rose Arce is on the scene in Lower Manhattan. Rose?
I'm right across the street from Two World Trade Center, which is still surrounded by a plume of smoke, and in the foreground you can see where a building on Vesey Street is still on fire. But for the first time tonight, we're actually seeing rescue workers inside Two World Trade Center. All day they've been behind barricades, being pushed farther and farther back because of falling debris. And now, for the first time, they're actually on the catwalk that surrounds it's like right above the first story of World Trade Center. There's only about maybe 7 or 8 floors of the building left above them. It's just been shaved off at the top. It's completely blackened. The windows are darkened. There's really no sign of anything going on in there, but they're walking around in there. They're going through the windows. It looks like they have some access, at least to what is the second floor now of the building, and they're looking around inside there. You can see some flashlights. You can see someone walking around.
Rose, you're describing the situation there for us very well, but there's no power in the area, is there? And this is indeed a very dangerous operation, isn't it?
Yes, there is. There actually is power in one building across the street. I don't know if it's a generator or...
All right, we were talking.
The entire area is only lit up by emergency lights. It's virtually a ghost town in Lower Manhattan, except for just the area right around where the plane hit the building and where there is debris and, as I said, for the first time, an active rescue operation.
How many people are in the building? Any idea?
As far as rescue workers, I've only seen maybe a half like I said, on this catwalk, and then down on the ground there are just hundreds of firefighters that have reached here for the first time and are trying to clear through the debris in the adjoining buildings. There's also a triage center that's been set up across the street from 2 World Trade Center where you can see several dozen people getting oxygen. There's some flying glass. There's this thin flying glass in the air that seems to be getting in people's eyes. So there's people's eyes to try to clear them.
All right, Rose Arcee, CNN producer, down at the scene in Lower Manhattan.
And all day the Red Cross had been calling on people to donate blood, to get out there, give blood, because so many people have been injured. Jean Meserve is in Washington now, and we want to hand it over to her for a moment to talk about the Red Cross, how emergency services handle this kind of thing. Jean, where you go?
Colleen, people in Washington and in New York and all across the country want to help in a situation like this. And this afternoon, the Federal Emergency Management Agency said the way to help was to contact the Red Cross and give them blood or give them money. And here with me today is Shelley McCaffrey. She's a Red Cross volunteer. Thanks for coming in.
Hi, thank you.
First, let's talk about the blood situation. How does it look right now? Have you gotten a lot of donations?
We have had a wonderful response, and the truth is, blood donations are going to be needed in the long run. This is going to be an ongoing problem for many months, so it's important that people call 1-800-GIVE-LIFE and make an appointment and keep their appointment. And again, this will be many months.
And people in Missouri can give blood, and it will be as helpful as people in greater New York.
Sure, they can contact their local blood region, make an appointment close to home, and if they call that 1-800-GIVE-LIFE, they can make that through that number.
Why is the need for blood going to last for months? One can understand weeks, certainly, but months.
Right. Again, even if we use the blood that we have right now, it will need to be replenished, and it will be ongoing. We're going to have many, many months, and of course we don't know what's going to happen. We are still in the middle of hurricane season, and the Red Cross will be there through all other disasters, including this one. So it's so important to keep that blood supply going and to make sure that Red Cross is there to save lives every day through the next few months or however long it takes.
Well, what about the cash donations? Are those flowing into you as well?
Yes, it's wonderful to see the response of the American people at a time like this. It's so traumatic, and people want to know how to help, and the truth is, turn to the Red Cross and be there for us so that we can be there for the American people. People can donate by contacting their local chapter. That's really the easiest way to go about it. Call the local chapter, look it up in the phone book, or contact the Red Cross at 1-800-HELP-NOW.
You were mentioning that your website has just been flooded with people who want to help.
It's wonderful, and in response to that flooding, America Online has also instituted helping.org in order to help the Red Cross and to funnel some of those donations through their website as well. So if you're having trouble with the internet, that's another option to go in addition to redcross.org. But again, contacting the local chapter really is the most important way and the most effective way to get that donation to the Red Cross.
What about people who want to volunteer their time?
That's also a wonderful way to help out. However, the Red Cross has trained volunteers. It takes many hours of training. We want to make sure that we have the right people in the right place at the right time, ready to go whenever needed. So again, contact the local chapter, look it up in the phone book, make that call. Tell them that you want to volunteer, and they will put your name into our network of 23,000 volunteers nationwide. They'll give you the training, and then when you are needed, you will be called upon.
We've been talking today over and over about how unprecedented these events are. For the Red Cross, is this also unprecedented?
Absolutely. It's such a traumatic incident to have something like this happen right on the American soil, and we've been receiving such support from our international sister societies. It's just been incredible. It's so traumatic for the American people, so emotional and so deeply trying, but of course we will rise to the occasion.
Tell me about that international support.
Right. The American Red Cross has been receiving calls of condolence and offers of support, whether it be financial or material, from our sister societies, the British Red Cross, the German Red Cross. And it's so amazing to experience that international support in the same way that those other countries are supporting President Bush and are supporting the American